I'm writing this down because I don't have much time. Hopefully someone will find this notebook and not make the same mistakes that I have. And post it to either 4chan, Reddit, or Facebook, and then have someone else cut and paste it to the Creepypasta Wiki. And then hopefully it will get an 8 to 10 star rating with my original name credited as the author. Anyway, it started earlier today. I was listening to the Toonami Faithful podcast episode 100.
Okay, we got to move on because we have a lot of callers.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm sure you've heard this over and over again, but I love you guys. I love what you're doing. Josh, good luck at CNN.
My name's Jose, but thank you.
Hello?
Pick up your Game Boy and insert ET Digital Companion for the Game Boy Color.
Who is this? What am I even doing? I mean, this seems like the setup to a creepypasta. A bad one. Speaking of which... God, that transition was awful. Ah, creepypastas. The campfire stories of the internet. Originally, these were short horror stories posted on forums, usually anonymously. These stories were often copied and pasted repeatedly on other forums. A nickname was developed for the copied and pasted stories, creepypastas. One of the original intrigues to the genre was the ambiguity of the story's credibility. In other words, it was hard to tell if these stories were true or not, as many of them were told as if they were real accounts. And if you couldn't even trace the origin, for all you know, it could be a real account. Over time, many creepypasta franchises and legends have developed, including Slenderman, Jeff the Killer, SmileDog.jpg, The Rake, and Candle Cove. Not only have new franchises formed, but also entire new genres, including picture pastas, video game pastas, and internet-based pastas. In short, creepypastas are an ever-expanding branch of the horror genre that I look forward to see expanded in the future. However, when a field of media allows anyone with internet access to write a story, you're inevitably going to come across some less than interesting stories. Now, I'd like to set some parameters. These are not the worst creepypastas ever written. Where would I even begin? Instead, I decided to set realistic boundaries and will be counting down pastas narrated by either Mr. Creepypasta, Creeps McPasta, or Creepypasta Jr. The pastas that I've selected are generally liked or even popular. However, to me, they either represent the cliches of the genre or are just bad stories in my opinion. Now, I would like to make one thing clear. I don't wish any shame on the authors or anyone who found these stories scary. Horror, after all, is objectionable, and these are my picks for the pastas that I found a little less than tasty. So, let's begin. Let's begin. Number 10, Blank Blue Screen. The premise of the story is interesting, but the execution is pretty bad. The premise involves the narrator informing the viewer of the common fear of TV static, and how pointless the fear is, due to the protection it provides. The real thing you should fear is the blank blue screen that many new TVs display.
The fuzz was an old way of protecting you from the monsters, stripping away the protection and all you have is that open, blue void. What? You want to know why you should trust me? How cute. I'll tell you why.
Unfortunately, the story was actually deleted by the author, but what follows is an image with a subtitle, "I will tear your face off," and an image of a face that looks like it was made on bit strips. However, the pasta doesn't end there. The rest of the story consists of threats such as, "I will shred your bones faster than you can say creepypasta," and loses its dignity from there. Overall, it's a good concept with poor execution. Number 9, the Huntsville camping trip. Now, I would like to circle back to a point I made before. Horror is objectional. The reason I bring this up is because many people find this story scary, and I get it. The disconnected events and growing sense of insanity of the main character can come off scary to some. The reason I don't like it is because of the disconnected events and growing insanity of the main character. Let me explain. The story kind of reminds me a bit of the Twilight Zone episode When the Sky Was Opened, in which 3 astronauts return from Earth. However, one by one they disappear and no one remembers that they ever existed. While that episode had a clear structure, this pasta doesn't. It consists of a few guys going on a camping trip, seeing a lot of freaky shit, going home, everyone they know is acting very weird, and the main character is going insane from the sounds of broken toys, crying, and a face that repeatedly appears in the window, and then has an axe chop it off. Did that summary sound like a ramble? Well, that's what this pasta feels like, a ramble. The author seems to throw a series of unrelated creepy events that build to nothing. Not only that, but there are also a couple of distracting grammar screw-ups. For example, the narrator at times switches between past and present tense on a whim.
Mike had to go piss and he walked off to the forest. A second later, he comes running back, piss all down his jeans like he missed really bad. And immediately, we all crack up and throw some jokes at him. But then we notice that he was white as snow, trying to catch his breath. He starts screaming for us to follow him and runs off. We all get serious and go follow him, not knowing what the problem was. We start to hear a faint scream and crying in the distance, and in the direction that we're running, it was pitch black away from the camp.
Look, if you enjoyed this pasta, good for you. I personally found it pretty shitty. I love haunted gaming pastas. The premise, while at first seeming a bit corny, is actually one that is open to a lot of potential. The idea that a fictional world can exist in which anything is possible, and yet the protagonist can rationalize his scenario with the phrase, "it's just a game," is a concept that can open up a lot of creativity. The sheer amount of possibilities the gaming horror story genre can explore is incredible. And many stories do showcase the potential that this genre has. However, the majority of these pastas follow a contrived formula that got old fast. Protagonist is feeling nostalgia for an old game and longs to relive his childhood memories. Protagonist is willing to acquire the game at any cost, whether that be an emulator, sketchy garage sale, or a suspicious-looking cartridge on eBay. The game works great at first, but then weird events start to occur, including minor inconsistencies preceded by satanic symbolism and concluding with massive amounts of blood and gore. The gamer concludes that a dark entity must be possessing his game cartridge, and not something ridiculous like a programmer modded it. The main character is left scarred for life and his childhood ruined, or gets killed by a plush doll. Number 8, Time's Up, is no exception to this formula.
I always loved playing Super Mario Bros. On my NES when I was little. It was so fun to get through all 8 worlds and save the princess over and over again, and find all these cool glitches everyone was talking about. It was spectacular. My Super Mario Bros. Game. I was so excited and jumping around as this could have been a chance to relive my young childhood years. I had a good friend who was a skilled hacker. I handed the old cartridge to him and requested him to make the game work. Soon enough, he came over and gave the cartridge back. And then soon I noticed the timer wasn't counting down. It was frozen at 666 in-game seconds. Sorry, Mario. But you're too late. Apparently there was more space to the right of the screen with a small blood trail following. I walked along the bloody trail as the trail of blood started getting thicker and thicker, and the static sound got louder. Instantly cut to black, and a loud screech came from the TV screen. I ran towards the old NES and powered it off. I walked downstairs into the living room, and to my complete and utter surprise, the game was playing, and Mario was walking through a normal world, 1-1, all by itself. There was no one home, and a controller wasn't plugged in. I just sat on the couch and watched the game play itself.
When all is said and done, this is far from the worst gaming pasta ever written, but it's a prime example of when the formula just becomes too boring. Number 7, McDonald's. This story just comes off lame. Well, that's obvious, you may be thinking. How can a horror story about a fast food chain be scary? Well, it can be done. Let me explain. If you can get past the absurdity, the concept can work. Because the appeal to pastas about a fast food chain, Chuck E. Cheese, or Disney World attraction is the relatability. Most likely you have been to all of the above at one point in your life. Thus, the pasta is universal. However, there are 2 ways that the story can be handled without sounding corny. You can A, write the story with a bit of tongue-in-cheek, make it sound like a story your older brother would have told you to freak you out as a kid, or B, slowly acclimate the viewer into the story. An example would be the pasta Ronald McDonald House, which takes its time to build a lot of atmosphere, so when it's implied that orphan children are being slaughtered to create hamburgers, the viewer is horrified and not laughing at the concept.
And each and every day
The premise of this pasta involves a McDonald's employee trying to get more sleep at night. This is difficult due to the fact that a man murdered his wife in the apartment next door. Not only that, but our protagonist also has nightmares about the murder. However, in his nightmare, the woman is being murdered by a freaky creature wearing a Ronald McDonald outfit.
He went back into the shadowy corner, and I could faintly read the message on the wall. M. 2 bloody arches.
And that's the main problem. It doesn't explain how the murder and McDonald's have anything to do with each other. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm not much of a Pokemon fan. Oh shit! Okay, I used to collect the trading cards as a kid. Okay, as a kid, I did watch the anime and had a Pikachu doll. But still, I'm not really that much of a Pokemon fan to be... Alright, I give up. Although I definitely have my time with Pokemon, it doesn't latch on to me the same way it does for many people. That equivalent would be Code Lyoko. The point I'm trying to make is that Pokemon latches on to people in a way few shows or other merchandise do. And the thing about it is that that's perfect breeding ground for creepypastas. What's better than taking what we love and cherish as a child and twisting it into nightmarish forms, or exploiting what was already screwed up with it to begin with? However, there is certainly a way not to do these stories. Case in point, number 6, Nurse Joy. This pasta brings up the question that many fans of the Pokemon series ask: why are there so many Nurse Joys?